Hello, everyone. So for tonight's assignment, I'll be explaining what a risk um, manager or risk management professional is, their functions and responsibilities, and who do they report to, give some examples, and explain their relationship they have with the board. So, the functions and responsibilities of a RMP is to prevent incidents and situations from happening, especially in the healthcare setting. So, if that specific risk can cause liability or a loss, is their job to assess that and figure out ways to avoid having that risk, or come up with solutions or recommendations to avoid it in the future. Some of the incidents, uh, some of the incidents that can happen are medication errors, billing, injury, a system shutting down, and those are in particular to a healthcare setting. At my hospital, we have something called an ONS where we could record incidents, and it's the job of the risk manager to go through those and assess why it happened, how could it be prevented, what was involved in it. Of course, the end goal is to avoid any incident like that from happening, but if it does happen, they're supposed to analyze it and look at it from different angles and see what went wrong with that particular incident or situation. So they report to, I believe in my organization, they report to the practice manager because they usually work hand in hand since it involves a whole department and different clinics, and they need to understand how all the workflows are for each particular floor or department. And the practice manager or the manager of that department would know those particular workflows best and what policies and protocols are currently in place for that. They do help with the directors as well. So mainly operations side. How do they work hand in hand with the board? Basically, when there is a situation or incident that does happen, they work with the board to analyze it and look how it can be prevented. And if there is a certain protocol that can go into place that goes hand in hand with a policy, it is advised to the board members. And the board takes it from there and look at the recommendation and see if that's something that they can implement into the specific organization or clinic, or does it work well with the current workflow or not. They when they do that, they decide to provide further education to the clinical staff or whoever was involved in that particular incident. So, for an example, it could be a medication error. Wrong patient was given the wrong medication. Something we know in healthcare is to check for the right patient, right name, right location, right room, right birthday, and double check the medication if it matches, especially if it's a common name. In certain medications, there is more of a protocol to double check. Like when we administer insulin, we need to have a second nurse to check it off. So if there was an error in that, it is the job of the risk manager to go through the steps with the people that were involved in the incident and see what went wrong, and to implement changes or reiterate education otherwise. And if there was not a specific protocol that goes with that specific situation, it is discussed with operations afterwards to see what can be the next step for that. I think that is a world of responsibility. And without them, we wouldn't have a lot of our current protocols in place right now. And of course, like I said, they work hand in hand with the operations and sometimes contractors, but definitely with the educators so that they can educate the staff that's involved in processing that new change to avoid any type of situation ahead of time. Of course, part of like I stated before, part of the job is to analyze prior incidents and see what's a better solution. But at the end of the day, you want to avoid it at all costs, especially when there's a potential for loss of life, in a healthcare setting. And we don't want that happening with our patients. I hope that was a good explanation, and I'm looking forward to hear feedback or any comments my fellow classmates have. Thanks.